You feel it, don't you? That invisible force that seems to be sabotaging your life. You make a resolution, and then you break it. You start a new habit, and then you abandon it. You promise yourself that this time will be different, that you will finally get your life together, but then you find yourself right back where you started, stuck in the same old patterns, the same old self-destructive behaviors, the same old quiet desperation. It feels like there is a stranger living inside you, a stranger who is secretly running the show, a stranger who does not want you to be happy, to be healthy, to be free. Therefore, you are not just struggling with a lack of willpower. You are at war with a part of yourself that you do not even know exists. This is not a metaphor. This is a psychological reality. And the great Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung had a name for this stranger, this dark twin that lives within each of us. He called it the shadow. The shadow is the container for everything about ourselves that we have repressed, denied, and disowned. It is our anger, our envy, our greed, our shame, our vulnerability, our power. It is all the parts of us that we were taught were unacceptable, unlovable, or bad. And so we cut them off. We banish them to the dark, silent basement of our unconscious mind. But they did not die. They are down there in the dark, and they are hungry, and they are running your life. Every time you procrastinate, that is your shadow, afraid of failure, or perhaps even more terrifyingly, afraid of success. Every time you find yourself in a toxic relationship, that is your shadow, unconsciously seeking to heal an old wound by replaying an old trauma. Every time you have an outburst of rage that seems to come from nowhere, that is your shadow, finally releasing the anger that you have been swallowing your entire life. Every time you feel that inexplicable emptiness, that sense that something is missing even when everything in your life looks perfect on the surface, that is your shadow, grieving for the parts of you that you have abandoned. Do you see? Your life is not a series of random, unfortunate events. It is a story that is being written by a part of you that you have refused to meet. And as long as you continue to ignore it, as long as you continue to pretend that you are only the good, nice, positive parts of yourself, you will remain a puppet, and your shadow will remain the puppet master. Therefore, the most important journey you will ever take is not the journey to find a new job, a new partner, or a new life. It is the journey to descend into your own darkness, to meet your own shadow, and to reclaim the lost parts of your own soul. And that journey, my friend, begins now. Part 2. The shadow's fingerprints, how to know it's in control. How do you know if your shadow is running your life? You don't need a PhD in psychology. You just need to have the courage to be honest with yourself. The clues are everywhere, if you are willing to look. The first and most obvious clue is projection. Projection is when you see in others what you cannot or will not see in yourself. That person at work who you find unbearably arrogant. Perhaps they are mirroring a part of you that is secretly proud of your own accomplishments, but that you have been taught to hide under a mask of false humility. That friend whose vulnerability makes you cringe. Perhaps they are reflecting your own deep-seated and disowned need for connection and support. That public figure whose greed and selfishness enrages you. Perhaps they are activating your own repressed desires for more, for better, for a life that is not so constrained by self-denial. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Your triggers are not random. They are a roadmap. They are a treasure map, pointing you directly to the buried gold in your own shadow. The people who piss you off the most are not your enemies. They are your greatest teachers. They are mirrors, showing you the parts of yourself that are begging to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be integrated. Another powerful sign that your shadow is in control is the repetition of self-destructive patterns. Do you always find yourself in the same kind of toxic relationship, just with a different person? Do you always sabotage yourself just when you are on the verge of success? Do you always find a way to end up broke, no matter how much money you make? This is not bad luck. This is your shadow, reenacting an old story, trying to heal an old wound. If you were rejected as a child, your shadow may unconsciously seek out partners who will reject you as an adult, in a desperate attempt to finally win the love you never received. If you were taught that your anger was dangerous, your shadow may provoke situations where you are taken advantage of, just so it can finally have an excuse to express its repressed rage. Your life is a loop, and the loop is being controlled by a part of you that is stuck in the past. And then there is the irrational fear of judgment. Are you terrified of being criticized? Do you avoid taking risks, speaking your mind, or showing your true self to the world for fear of what other people will think? If so, your shadow is likely filled with a deep and abiding shame. A shame that was instilled in you when you were taught that making mistakes was unacceptable, that being different was dangerous, that your authentic self was somehow flawed. And so you live your life in a defensive crouch, constantly trying to please, to perform, to be perfect, to avoid any possibility of being judged. But this is not a life, it is a prison. A prison built from the fear of your own disowned humanity. And finally, there is the most subtle and perhaps the most painful sign of all, the inexplicable emptiness, the feeling that something is missing, even when your life is full, the sense that you are a stranger in your own life. This is the grief of the soul. It is the pain of your own amputated self. You have cut off so many parts of yourself to be accepted, to be loved, to be safe, that you are now living as a fragment. And that feeling of emptiness is the phantom limb pain of your own missing pieces. If these signs resonate with you, it is not a cause for despair. It is a cause for celebration, because to see the prison is the first step to escaping it. The real danger is not having a shadow. We all have one. The real danger is living in denial of it. The real danger is spending your entire life as a stranger to yourself. But now you have a choice. You can continue to ignore the signs, to repress the feelings, to live in the comfortable, familiar prison of your own denial. Or you can choose to turn around, to face the darkness, and to begin the sacred, terrifying, and ultimately liberating work of reclaiming your own shadow. Therefore, the question is not whether you have a shadow. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Part 3. The price of denial. What happens when the shadow takes over? What happens if you continue to ignore your shadow? Let's be very clear. The shadow you ignore does not disappear. It metastasizes. It grows stronger, denser, and more powerful in the dark. And the more you deny it, the more it will find ways to erupt into your life, in ways that are increasingly chaotic, destructive, and painful. You can spend years, decades, a lifetime pretending that certain emotions, desires, and impulses do not exist. But there will come a day of reckoning, a day when the dam breaks, and when that happens, you will have no choice but to face the flood. One of the greatest dangers of the repressed shadow is that it always finds a way to leak out. If you repress your anger, it will not just vanish. It will turn into a passive-aggressive comment, a sarcastic joke, a chronic back pain, or a sudden, uncontrolled explosion of rage that destroys a relationship or a career. If you repress your deepest desires, they will not just go away. They will emerge as addictions, as compulsions, as a gnawing sense of dissatisfaction that no amount of success or pleasure can seem to fill. If you bury your trauma, it will not stay buried. It will manifest as a panic attack in the middle of the grocery store, as a crippling depression that makes it impossible to get out of bed, as a mysterious physical illness that doctors cannot explain. And make no mistake, the shadow does not just operate in your inner world, it shapes your outer reality. If you do not acknowledge your own fear of abandonment, you will unconsciously create situations where you are abandoned, or you will cling so desperately to toxic relationships that you abandon yourself. If you deny your own ambition, you will sabotage your own success, convincing yourself that you are not worthy, that you are not ready, that it is not for you. If you hide your own power, you will attract people who will dominate and control you, because your shadow is secretly craving a master. But the greatest danger of all, the one that should terrify you into action, is that if you do not integrate your shadow, it will eventually possess you. You will become it. Have you ever met someone who seems to be consumed by their own bitterness? Who is always the victim, always blaming others, always radiating a low-grade simmering rage? These people were not born this way. They are people who have spent their entire lives repressing their pain, their disappointment, their anger, until one day the shadow became so strong that it took over the house, and now they are no longer a person. They are a walking wound, an embodiment of their own unintegrated darkness, and they will spend the rest of their lives in an endless, repeating cycle of resentment, fear, and self-sabotage. And perhaps the cruelest fate of all is depersonalization, the feeling of being a stranger in your own body, a ghost in your own life. This is what happens when you have repressed so much of yourself that you are no longer whole. You have tried so hard to be only the good parts, to eliminate any trace of darkness, that you have cut out essential, vital pieces of your own psyche. And now, you are left with a feeling of profound emptiness, of unreality, as if you are watching your life from a great distance. You have become a hollow man, a hollow woman, a beautifully decorated but empty shell. But it does not have to be this way. This is not your destiny, it is a choice. And you can make a different choice. You can choose to stop being a victim of your own unlived life. You can choose to turn around, to face the darkness, and to begin the process of integrating your shadow, consciously, deliberately, and courageously. Therefore, the question is not how to escape your shadow. The question is, how do you begin the sacred work of making it your greatest ally? And that is what we will explore right now. Part 4, The Alchemist's Handbook, How to Turn Your Shadow into Gold. So, you have faced the truth. You have acknowledged the existence of your shadow. You have seen how it has been running your life. Now what? This is the moment of truth, the moment where understanding must be translated into action. Because knowing you have a shadow is one thing. Having the courage to integrate it is another thing entirely. And this is where the real journey begins. A journey into the heart of your own darkness. A journey that requires a level of honesty and courage that most people will never access. Jung was clear. The journey to the self, to wholeness, is not a journey for the faint of heart. It is a path that leads directly through the underworld of your own psyche. And the courage required is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward, trembling, into the unknown. It is the willingness to let go of the mask, to drop the victim story, and to accept the terrifying possibility that you have been a co-creator of your own suffering. This requires a brutal, unflinching honesty. It requires you to stop lying to yourself. What does this look like in practice? It means you have to start listening to the language of your own body, that knot in your stomach when you are with the wrong person, that tightness in your chest when you are about to betray yourself again, that chronic pain that has no medical explanation. This is not your body failing you. This is your unconscious screaming at you to wake up. It is a loving, desperate attempt to save you from yourself. You can start with the simple but profound act of journaling, but not the kind of journaling where you just record the events of your day. This is a different kind of writing. This is a confession. You sit down every day and you write the things you are afraid to say out loud, the things you are ashamed to feel, the things you have never dared to admit even to yourself. You give your shadow a voice, and when those words escape the prison of your own silence, they begin to lose their power to control you from the dark. Another indispensable tool is the therapeutic mirror. This could be a psychologist, a therapist, a coach, or anyone who is trained to help you interpret the signals that your own mind is sending you. Jung said that the unconscious is not a garbage dump. It is a living intelligence. It wants to heal you. It wants to guide you. But it speaks in a language of symbols, of dreams, of synchronicities. And having a skilled guide to help you translate that language can be the difference between staying lost in the woods and finding the path home. And then there is the practice of dream work. Your dreams are not random nonsense. They are a nightly report from the front lines of your own soul. They are showing you, in symbolic form, the exact nature of your inner conflicts, your repressed desires, your unhealed wounds. Start a dream journal. The moment you wake up, write down everything you can remember. And then, get curious. What do these symbols mean to you? A snake in a dream could be a symbol of evil, or it could be a symbol of healing and transformation. There is no universal dictionary. Your unconscious speaks in your own unique, personal language. And learning to speak that language is one of the most powerful skills you can ever develop. But the most important thing you can do is to stop running, to stop distracting yourself, to stop numbing yourself, to stop pretending that everything is okay. The next time you feel that wave of anxiety, of sadness, of rage, instead of immediately reaching for your phone or the refrigerator or the bottle, just stop and feel it. Allow it to be there, in your body, without judgment, without a story, just the raw physical sensation of the emotion. You are not the emotion. You are the awareness that is holding the emotion. And in that space of compassionate awareness, the emotion can begin to move, to release, to transform. Why do we run from pain? Because we have been taught that it is bad, that it is a sign of weakness, of failure, of something gone wrong. We live in a culture that is addicted to comfort, to pleasure, to the relentless pursuit of a superficial and ultimately meaningless happiness. But this is a profound and dangerous misunderstanding of the human condition. Pain is not an optional part of life. It is a fundamental and necessary part of what it means to be human. And as long as you are at war with your own pain, you will be at war with yourself. Jung saw suffering not as a problem to be solved, but as a summons to a deeper life. Your pain is not here to be eliminated. It is here to be heard. It is the voice of your own neglected soul, crying out for your attention. It is the signal that you are out of alignment with your own deepest truth. and it will not go away until you have the courage to listen to its message. Think about it. The greatest moments of growth in your life, the moments that made you who you are, were they not also the moments of your greatest pain? The heartbreak that broke you open to a deeper capacity to love. The failure that taught you a lesson you could have learned no other way. The loss that stripped you of everything you thought you were and forced you to find out who you truly are. It is in the fire that the steel is forged. It is in the chaos that the new world is born. It is in the heart of the suffering that the soul begins to heal. Jung said that suffering must be experienced to the end, and only then can it be overcome. You cannot go around it. You cannot go over it. You have to go through it. You have to be willing to sit in the fire of your own pain, to allow it to burn away everything that is false, everything that is inauthentic, everything that is not you. And what you will find on the other side of that fire is not ash. It is gold. It is the pure, indestructible, and magnificent gold of your own true self. Let's make this concrete. The people pleaser who is dying of anxiety. Their pain is a loving intervention. It is a demand from their soul that they finally learn to set boundaries, to speak their truth, to honor their own needs. The addict who is trapped in a cycle of shame and self-destruction. Their pain is a desperate attempt to numb a deeper wound. And the only way out is to have the courage to feel that wound, to grieve that loss, to face that emptiness, and to find a new source of comfort, of connection, of meaning that comes not from a substance but from within. Your pain is not a punishment. It is a sacred invitation, an invitation to a deeper, more authentic, and more meaningful life. And the choice is yours. You can continue to run, to numb, to distract, and to live as a ghost in your own life. Or you can accept the invitation. You can turn towards the pain. You can listen to its wisdom. You can allow it to be your guide. You can let it break you open to a strength you did not know you had, to a love you did not know you were capable of, to a life that is more real, more vibrant, and more gloriously, unapologetically you than you ever dared to imagine. Therefore, the question is not how to get rid of your pain. The question is, are you brave enough to listen to what it has to teach you? So, what now? You've faced your shadow. You've started to listen to your pain. How do you actually begin to integrate these lost parts of yourself and build a new life? This is not about a quick fix. This is about a new way of being. It is about cultivating a set of inner skills, of psychological muscles that will allow you to navigate the rest of your life with a new sense of wholeness and integrity. First, you must become a master of boundaries. Your lack of boundaries is what allowed your soul to be colonized in the first place. You said yes when you meant no. You tolerated disrespect. You put the needs of others before your own. A boundary is not a wall. It is a gate. It is a conscious decision about what you will allow into your life and what you will not. Every time you say a clear no to something that is not aligned with your soul, you are saying a powerful yes to yourself. Second, you must cultivate a practice of radical self-compassion. You are going to stumble. You are going to fall back into old patterns. You are going to have days where you feel like a complete failure. This is part of the process. The voice of your inner critic, the voice of your conditioning, will be loud. It will tell you that you are not doing it right, that you are not good enough, that you should just give up. You must learn to meet that voice with a fierce and unwavering compassion. You must learn to talk to yourself the way you would talk to a beloved friend who is struggling. You are not a project to be fixed. You are a human being to be held. And the more you can hold yourself in a space of unconditional love and acceptance, the more you will have the strength to continue the journey. Third, you must find your tribe. You cannot do this work alone. You have been isolated by your pain, by your shame, by your mask. Now you must find the people who see you, who get you, who can hold the space for your becoming. This might be a therapist, a coach, a support group, or a few trusted friends. Your tribe is your mirror. They will reflect back to you the truth of who you are, especially when you have forgotten it yourself. And finally, you must create a life that is an expression of your own unique soul. The pain began because you were living a life that was not yours. The healing comes when you start to build the life that is. What are you curious about? What brings you a sense of joy, of flow, of aliveness? You need to start feeding your soul. You need to start creating small daily experiences of alignment, of authenticity, of joy. You are not just healing from the past. You are building a future. This is the great work. It is the journey from being a victim of your own history to being the creator of your own destiny. It is messy. It is non-linear. It is the hardest thing you will ever do. But it is also the most rewarding. Because on the other side of this journey is not a perfect life, free from pain. It is something far better. It is a real life, a life that is yours. And that is the only life